What's going on, my broskiis? My name is Toadskii, back again, here to bring you guys yet another One Piece Treasure Cruise video. And in today's video, we're going to be doing another of the OPTC how-to series. So if you guys haven't seen my previous video, make sure to click the card at the top of the video. It links you over to the video where we broke down Gear 4 Luffy and like why he's so good, and also we went through kind of like the best units for him and what kind of team compositions you really should be going for with Luffy. Now in this video, as you can tell by the title and the thumbnail, we're going to be working on Katakuri. Now Katakuri is probably my favorite legend in the game currently. He's just so unique and very, very interesting. He has lots of really cool variety that you can build with. So before we actually get into his team composition, I kind of just want to break him down just in case if you do not know exactly what he does, because I know some people still like forget a couple of things that he has. So he's a shooter cerebral strength unit. Really good stats overall. Look at his max limit break stats. 4140 HP, which goes up by an additional 500 with Kennedy. Attack is 1890, so he goes to 2090 attack and 310 recovery. Just crazy stats for a 6-star unit, not even a 6+ unit. Like, he's crazy strong. Captain Effect will boost fighters, strikers, shooters, cerebrals, and powerhouse by 1.825. And this means that if a unit has both of the, like just basically two of these classes, they get 1.825 multiplied by 1.825, which gives them a 3.33 times boost. He also is a 20% damage reducer and makes 4 of the natural orbs count as matching, which is freaking crazy. You get so many matching orbs on a Katakuri team, it's so good. And he has a chance to delay enemies for 1 turn based on the amount of damage you deal in a turn. So if you deal 100,000 damage, it's only a 20% chance to delay the enemies. 500,000 will give you a 50% chance. You get a 100% chance of delay at 1 million damage. And if you reach 2 million damage, you delay them through debuff protection, which is one of the main really important factors of Katakuri and why he's so good, is that you can delay them through that debuff protector. His sailor abilities aren't that crazy, but this one's not bad. You know, doubling the attack against quick enemies, so as a sub, he has no weaknesses. And his special ability, which maxes at 10 turns with his limit break, boosts attack against delayed enemies by 1.75 for 2 turns, changes all type orbs and block orbs on fighters, shooters, strikers, cerebral, powerhouse into matching, and he also reduces those classes' specials by 1 turn. So he's a cooldown reducer, an orb manipulator, and a conditional booster. So all round, he's a really good, well-packaged unit. It's just that as a sub by himself, he's not really that useful as a sub in most cases. In a lot of different circumstances, you'd much rather use something else as him as a sub. But in this video, we're just going to be talking about him as a captain and how you can best utilize Katakuri. Now, remember, this is going to be based on One Piece Treasure Cruise Global. If you guys are playing Japan and you're watching this video, obviously there's going to be some units that you might, recommend for Katakuri teams. But in this video, I'm mainly just pertaining to the global side of the game. Obviously, as this video ages, it's not going to be as good because there's going to be better units that come out over time that are going to be better for different units and stuff. But just right now, we're going to be talking about Katakuri as he is right now on One Piece Treasure Cruise Global. So here we have Katakuri right here. So he has lots of good things going for him, as we just mentioned before. He's got 4 of the 7 natural orbs are beneficial, 20% damage reducer, and he's a 3.3 base attack booster just all the time, which is pretty good. One of the cool things about Katakuri, though, is that he is a cerebral unit, which means that you can actually build some really cool cerebral-based teams, but typically, because you are using cerebral units, you mainly want to be using the Zunisha ship. Now, the Zunisha ship, if you guys have no idea what that is, it boosts cerebral and powerhouse units. Now, the best thing about this is that there are so many good cerebral and powerhouse units that you can throw on Katakuri teams. So Katakuri is one of the best units in the game to utilize the Zunisha ship. So one of my favorite teams to really go with is to go with someone like Neptune, okay? So Neptune is a pretty difficult Colosseum unit. Obviously, you can farm his lower difficulty to get him to drop, but I think Colosseum Neptune is one of the best units to get for Katakuri teams specifically. So he reduces despair and attack down by 5 turns, so he's got amazing utility off the bat, as well as reducing the enemy's resilience buffs by 5 turns as well, and also reduces the defense of all enemies by 80%. And on top of this, here's a 1.75 times orb booster for Cerebral and Powerhouse units for 3 turns. So he is such a powerful unit to put on Katakuri teams, because the way that Katakuri works is you don't want to aim to go into a dungeon to just smack it down in 1 turn. The way that Katakuri is built is you want to take 1 turn to delay the enemy, and then you want to use his conditional boost and then kill them on the 2nd turn. That's typically the best way to use Katakuri and to get his maximum damage output. So having someone like Neptune, who is a multi-turn booster, he's a 3-turn orb booster, means that you can take 1 turn to deal damage, get your 2 million threshold, and then go ahead and use your Katakuri conditional boost to get the conditional, and then you'll also have your orb boost still from Neptune. So that is one of the best ways to really utilize this. And then one of the best units to also use is Oven. So Oven also came out in his actual batch, in Katakuri's batch. Oven is a great unit because he will go ahead and boost all the classes that Katakuri boosts by 2 times for 1 turn if the enemy is delayed. So you want to be going ahead and doing your burst, getting your delay off on the enemy, and then activating your Oven to get the 2 times boost. You can get the conditional boost afterwards as well. That's the main way you want to be using it. But some people might be asking, okay, so how do you get that 2 million threshold to get that delay? Obviously, having Neptune being the multi-turn booster is quite great, but then having another unit on your team that can provide some sort of boost to enable you to get that 2 million threshold is also really good. And one of the best units for that, in my opinion, is Treasure Map Sabo. So he's really great because he will go ahead and change all type orbs on Cerebral into matching. He also then reduces enemy defense and then is a conditional boost for reduced defense. One of the good things here though is if you are going to use Sabo and Neptune on the same turn, is to use Neptune first, because he's a 3-turn defense down and Sabo's only a 1-turn defense down. So I would use your Neptune first so they get 3 turns of reduced defense, and then you activate your Sabo. And typically this is like the best structure that I've been using personally on global, and this is like my main core of my Katakuri team, is to use these units. And then you've got like a space to really put whatever you want. There are so many good units that can fit on a Katakuri team, but let's just check this, right? So we're going to activate our Neptune and our Sabo, and that automatically, just with 5 units, will grant us 2 million damage across the boards every single time. And then afterwards, we can go ahead and Sabo will not be activated, we'll have our Katakuri boost, and we'll have Oven's boost. So just with 5 units alone, we're getting this amount of damage output, so it's fantastic. But for the last spot, there's lots of really good units, and you don't even have to run this specific team. You don't have to run Sabo, you don't have to run Oven. Oven's just a really great unit because he just boosts all of the separate classes that Katakuri boosts. But other units that I would just want to, mention to you guys so you guys know, what's so good about Katakuri, right? There's really good units that you can utilize with him. So one of the units that came out with the release of him was Limited Rare Recruit Moria, and he has the ability to lock the chain 3x for 1 turn. So Katakuri doesn't have that many great chain lockers, so Katakuri can really abuse Limited Rare Recruit Moria, and especially because Moria has the added effect that if the enemy is delayed, you get 1 million fixed damage to all enemies, so you can get some pretty cool things off with Limited Rare Recruit Moria. So that's a really good option. Another one is Brule, who also came out in Katakuri's batch, and she's an interesting unit because she's a unit that adds additional typeless bonus damage. So every time you hit like a perfect or a great or a good, she adds 30 times her attack to that specific hit. And this can enable you to maybe not reach your 2 million threshold, but this enables Katakuri to pretty much every single turn reach his 1 million threshold. And she adds it for 5 turns, that additional typeless damage. So basically for 5 turns, you're pretty much guaranteed to reach 1 million damage, as long as you're hitting perfects and hitting with all units. That's one of the good reasons why Brule could be used. So if you have some mob stages that have really annoying bosses, then this could be a really good way to get around that, is to delay them, and then you'll be able to get a conditional boost off with Katakuri. So Brule's probably not one of the best units to use, but she's not too bad. Koala's a really great utility unit. That's not the right Koala, although it's the right typing. It is this one, the one that came out with the Robin batch. She's great as well because she reduces Bind and Despair by 3 turns, and also changes her own orb into a recovery, which will be counted as beneficial, and also she changes the bottom row slots into matching, and she also is a 0.7 chain booster. So Koala, a really great chain booster with a really good piece of utility on top of that. Pudding is a relatively recent unit on global. She's got a really good set of utility with orb manipulation, recovery, She reduces damage received as well, reduces bind, despair, paralysis, and increased damage taken by 4 turns as well. So again, Pudding's a great unit. Katakuri doesn't really have that many blue units that can fit on his team, so Pudding's a really good unit for that specific thing. Chobro was one of the most recent units on Global as well. I mentioned him briefly in my Gear 4 video as well. He's a great unit because his Fighter Cerebral fits on the team really well. He reduces damage taken, reduces defense, my bad, of the enemies. He also reduces the damage limiters in Rage and also makes Inside Dex beneficial. So that's not that useful. Dex and Int counting as beneficial is not bad. Here, Katakuri already makes Psi beneficial, so that's whatever. He's also a Chain Booster as well, so Chopper, really good utility, and Chain Boosting, very similar to Koala actually. One of the units that is about to come out on Global, Dice. Now, I mentioned in my breakdown of the Guild Tesoro video of the whole batch that this unit is really good for Katakuri teams because he's got the condition in that if your captain is either strength or quick, he's a 1.75 type booster to all units on your crew, but on top of that, he is a health cutter and a barrier reducer. So it's really cool actually that he's a barrier reducer. The health cutting is whatever, but the fact that he's a type booster to the whole team is quite good because I mentioned before that Oven's one of the better units to put on a Katakuri team, but if you need a type boost on turn 1, instead of activating someone like Oven, who you need to delay first to get your big boost, you can just go ahead and use Dice and you get a 1.75 boost to all units. But there is a little bit of a drawback here because now you look, you've got 3 different strength units on your crew, so I wouldn't suggest this type of build against a quick enemy, but anything else I would say this type of build is actually pretty good. If you want to go a little bit more of a cerebral route, there is lots of different Nami characters that are great for Katakuri teams. So we've got Valentine Nami here, another good Nami is Time Skip Nami, and another good Nami that just got released on Global was Legend Nami. All 3 of these Namis are great for Katakuri teams. You've got a cerebral booster for the Valentine Nami, she's great. You've got really good pieces of utility with special bind and paralysis removal with Nami. She also delays as well, so this is a good opportunity to use this Nami, and that allows you to get your conditional boost off with Katakuri on turn 1. So that's a really good thing to do, especially because Nami is a 2-turn delay, which means you can get your 2 turns of the full conditional boost from Katakuri. Or if you want to go ahead and get a massive boost on turn 1, you can go ahead and use this Nami because she is a 2 times Orb boost and a 1.75 times affinity boost for those specific classes of Free Spirit, Cerebral, Powerhouse, and Driven. So with this specific team, you want to be building mainly a Cerebral and a Powerhouse build with Katakuri because you can't obviously use Free Spirit or Driven on a Katakuri team. Well, you can. There are some units that are only half boosted that are still really good on a Katakuri team, but typically because you want to be reaching your 2 million threshold, you don't really want to be doing that too often. But in terms of units that are actually pretty good, that are half boosted, that I can just mention really quickly, Shirahoshi off the top of my head is a great unit, allowing you to get those rainbow orbs, of course. So if you're coming up against an enemy that continuously manipulates your orbs, Shirahoshi is going to be good for that. And another unit that's half boosted that's actually coming out on One Piece Treasure Cruise Global very, very soon in the latest treasure map is going to be Charlotte Linlin. So the reason why she's good, she's only a powerhouse unit, so she only gets the 1.8 boost, but she gives all G-Orbs a 3 times Orb boost and a 1.25 times affinity and type boost. So with her alone on your team, you can easily get your 2 million threshold just with the Big Mom special. So Big Mom's going to be a great unit to have on your Katakuri teams for reaching mass amounts of damage very, very quickly. So you can go ahead and just activate her special, get the G-Orbs, get the huge boost, and then on the turn after that, then you can go ahead and use your Katakuri to get your delay conditional and stuff like that. So you can see how Katakuri works. You want to be using some sort of boost on the first turn to get your delay, and then once you get the delay, it's pretty much GG at that point. You can get your conditional boost, you can get Oven's type boost, and it's over. You just get so much damage output once you get that delay off. So in terms of some other legends that are quite good, we'll go into some free-to-play characters in a little bit, but in terms of legend characters that are really good, we've got Magellan. So Magellan is pretty cool, as I can spell it correctly would be great. Magellan does have his 6+ on Global, and his 6+ is quite good. He heals for a lot more, and obviously he does the toxic and stuff like that. He's really great. He's really, really good, especially when we come to some bosses later on down the road that are going to have mass amounts of HP and they're very, very difficult to take down. We have Magellan here, who's very, very good for that, because namingly, Raid Blackbeard should be arriving on Global within the next month or so, and he's a very, very difficult raid boss. He has massive amounts of HP. He's got like between 15 to 20 million health or something like that. So having a character like Magellan on a Katakuri team works so well. He obviously gets the full boost being a striker and a shooter, and that Toxic is crazy good. And with the healing and the damage reduction that Katakuri provides, the healing that Magellan provides, it works so well. Another unit that's great as well, that's kind of low-key, you don't really use that often, but he is not too bad, is Legend Jinbei. He does really good AoE damage, as well as reducing the damage reduction, which is the Rainbow Shield, and he reduces the Blue Shield defense up by 5 turns. So if you need to get rid of those specific debuffs, that's great by using that Legend Jinbei there. And one final legend I want to talk about that I use quite often on Katakuri teams is actually Legend Marco, because there are some times where with Katakuri, you typically will take a decent amount of time to actually take down bosses with large amounts of health. So having a really good unit that can heal all the way up, as well as providing an orb boost, is great. Because the thing with Marco that's great is, not only does he grant you that full heal, of course, but that 2-turn 1.5 orb boost, even though it's not a very significant orb boost, the thing with Katakuri is that with his passive ability of giving you 4 out of the 7 natural orbs as matching, you're going to be getting a lot of matching orbs, which grants you a lot of extra damage with the orb boost, and sometimes that little bit of boost that Marco provides is just enough for you to reach the 1 million or 2 million threshold to get that guaranteed delay off on the enemy. So having someone like Marco for some very difficult pieces of content is actually quite useful to have. Some people might be wondering at this point, like, why is Neptune still here? Neptune is here just because basically, if you're building a Katakuri team, Neptune is almost the unit that I put in, like, the very first unit, other than Katakuri. He's pretty much always the unit that I'll put on the team, just because he's so useful to have with the utility and the orb boost. Just make sure you farm this guy up whenever he is available on Global if you have Katakuri. Even if you don't have Katakuri, you should be farming him anyway. He's just such a powerful unit to have with Katakuri. But let's talk about some free-to-play options, okay? So, in terms of free-to-play, Robin is a great option. Now, 5+ Robin is very good. She has her limit break on Global, of course, so you can actually rainbow her as well. She's great because she reduces paralysis and special bind on herself with her sailor abilities, and then she reduces bind, despair, and silence by 3 turns, and also is a special cooldown reducer for your crew. Robin is a very key unit for getting rid of certain debuffs and stuff like that, so if you are a little bit more free to play and you need to know some options for Katakuri teams, definitely 5+ Robin is a great option to go with. Colosseum Kuma. Now, Colosseum Kuma isn't out on Global yet, however, he should be the next unit to arrive in the Colosseum. So I just want to discuss him really quick because he's very good. He makes Psi Orbs beneficial for shooters, not really good for Katakuri teams because Katakuri already makes Psi beneficial, but for shooter teams specifically, that's good. He reduces threshold damage reduction and percent damage reduction, so damage limiters and rainbow shields by 3 turns. He changes adjacent orbs into recovery, which will be beneficial on a Katakuri team, so make sure to put him in the middle row. And then he has a chance to instantly kill an enemy if they have 350 times his attack in terms of their HP or less. But if they don't have that, then he's going to be doing a 20% health cut. So Colosseum Kuma won't provide that much to your team, but he's just a really nice unit to have in terms of utility and a little bit of orb manipulation as well. So when he arrives on Global, if you have Katakuri, farm him up definitely. Now, a unit that came out not that long ago was actually Treasure Map Jack. Treasure Map Jack is really good. He's really good on Katakuri teams because he provides the percent damage reduction, increased defense, and damage nullification reduction by 2 turns. And he also does the fixed damage to 1 enemy through barriers, depending on how many enemies are on the enemy side of the field. So if you are up against an enemy that has like a full board of 6 enemies, Jack is great for Katakuri teams. He gets the full boost, of course. And as I mentioned, Katakuri doesn't have that many good blue units, I would say. So having access to someone like Jack is actually quite nice because it gives you utility and a pretty good chunk of damage off on the enemy as well. The next unit here is Raid Cracker. So Raid Cracker, another great unit, gives you the full board of orbs guaranteed, as well as going ahead and doing a health cut. He reduces chain multiplier limit and stuff like that. So again, going back to utility and orb manipulation, always useful to have. And you can see that most of the units that I am suggesting here are all either cerebral or powerhouse units, which is quite key because a lot of his best units are cerebral and powerhouse, as I was mentioning before. And this this Neptune boosts the orbs of cerebral and powerhouse. So this is what I'm saying, like Katakuri with his cerebral and powerhouse units, like it's crazy some of the stuff you can use. Another unit as well that's really good that I actually kind of forgot was Treasure Map Whitebeard. Another great unit, does massive AoE damage, and depending on what the enemy has, either a debuff protector or a barrier, he provides certain boosts. So again, another great unit to have on a Katakuri team. But there are two more units that I want to discuss that are amazing for Katakuri teams specifically. So, and they're both free to play too, so everyone should have them. Being Colosseum Kid. So Colosseum Kid just came out, or is now currently the current Colosseum. You can farm it right now. He will deal lots of damage to the enemy with his special, and you need to limit break him, definitely, because when you limit break him, he gets the access to the reduction of his special cooldown, and the fact that he will be able to be used on stage 1 of the fight is so good, because you can use his special, reduce the cooldowns of your strikers and your shooters, as well as dealing a lot of damage to the enemy. Yeah, definitely farm this guy out. He's so good for Katakuri teams, but the thing about him is that you have to make sure that your captain is either a shooter or a striker unit, and because Katakuri is a shooter unit, it fits very, very well. So definitely farm up Colosseum Kid, and Colosseum Kid could even be like that last unit you have on your team. You know how I mentioned before with Oven and Sabo, you know, your last unit could be this. But another unit that actually was built specifically for Katakuri is Treasure Map Crocodile. Now, I am not the greatest fan of this unit, but there are certain circumstances where he's actually going to be quite good. Now, the thing about Treasure Map Croc that makes him good is he has the ability to make himself become the captain when you use his special ability. On top of this, he also boosts his own attack by 2 times. That's the little bit of the part that I'm not the biggest fan of, but when you make him the captain and he partners himself with Katakuri, with the 2 captain effects combined, every single natural orb is considered as beneficial. You've got Strength, Dex, and Int here, and you have Quick, Psi, Recovery, and Tandem beneficial with Katakuri. So with this circumstance, you will be able to easily deal 2 million damage when you use Croc's special, just with Croc's special alone, and then with your friend Katakuri, you'll be able to get your guaranteed delay. Croc will become the sub in the following turn, and you'll be able to activate your conditional boost and get the massive boosts off. So if you need to use another unit to get your guaranteed 2 million damage, Treasure Map Croc was specifically built for Katakuri in mind to get your 2 million damage threshold. So if we see here, this is going back to the Katakuri team that we had before, and we've put Crocodile here. You can see just with the Neptune boost, we are going to be getting our 2 million boost here. Except if we're against an int or a strength boss, we are not guaranteed to get our 2 million damage. So if we make Croc the captain and use his special ability, we can see we're guaranteed to get our 2 million damage threshold off. In the following turn, Katakuri will become the captain again. We can go ahead and get our Charlotte Oven boost and our Katakuri boost. Now, this means that Sabo is kind of a redundant unit. You don't need to put him here. You could put someone like Limited Rare Recruit Moria here, and that would enable you to get your 3 times chain lock, and you get massive damage there. Or you can remove Moria and put in a utility unit, and you know, that could be ranging from anything. You know, you could put in like Pudding. So Pudding is a decent utility unit, so you could put her in for some blue damage coverage, and that will work as well. So you can see that there are pretty good options with Katakuri, and the main way you want to be using him is to burst on turn 1, get the delay, and then use his conditional boost. So in my experiences of using Katakuri, and as you guys have seen in my playthrough videos, I use Katakuri a lot. This has been my experience with him, and the best ways to really utilize Katakuri currently on One Piece Treasure Cruise Global. As I said at the start of the video, as time progresses, there are going to be a lot more units that are going to be available for Katakuri, but as of right now on Global, this is typically the best way to build Katakuri teams. So I really hope this guide, you know, just gave you guys a little bit of insight into my mind and how I build Katakuri teams and how I use him and the way that he's supposed to be used in One Piece Treasure Cruise Global. So hopefully you guys did enjoy this video. If you guys enjoyed this series, make sure to leave a like and leave a suggestion down below in the comments of what other legend you want to see me break down into, you know, my mind and how I would basically team build with that specific character. So let me know your thoughts in the comment section. But if you guys want to stay up to date with all of the content I post on One Piece Treasure Cruise Global, then make sure to go ahead and hit that subscribe button to stay tuned for that. Also, make sure to hit that bell because YouTube's been pretty weird lately in terms of sending videos out to you guys that are subscribed to the channel. So make sure to hit that bell notification so you can be notified whenever a video goes live in terms of, you know, new characters that are announced or any news events. Make sure to stay tuned for it. But hopefully you guys did enjoy, and I'll catch you guys next time. Peace!